Have you ever caught yourself in the silence of your mind, being invaded by that frightening thought? What if the money runs out? What if nothing I do is enough? What if I never achieve the life I dream of? If you've ever felt that tightness in your chest, that feeling that scarcity is following you like a shadow, know that you're not alone. Millions of people live in this cycle of fear, anxiety, and financial insecurity every day. And do you know what's most shocking? They don't even realize that they're stuck in this cycle. The truth is that this feeling is not natural. It is learned. It was installed in your mind, often since childhood, through beliefs, experiences, and everything you were taught about money, success, and prosperity. But there is one thing that nobody told you until today, and what you're going to discover here could be exactly the turning point in your life. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm going to reveal to you has the power to free your mind and your life from this invisible prison called fear of scarcity. Maybe you've spent the last few years believing that just having faith would be enough, or that all you had to do was work harder, try harder, do more overtime, sacrifice your time, your peace. And yet life doesn't seem to move forward. It seems like the more you run, the more distant that dream of financial freedom, of living a light, abundant, prosperous life becomes. Have you ever been through this? And here's a powerful and perhaps even uncomfortable truth. The fear of scarcity does not go away with faith alone, and much less with hard work alone. In fact, this transformation begins in your mind, and I'm not the one saying this. This was proven almost 100 years ago by one of the greatest success scholars of all time, Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill, he spent more than 25 years studying the richest, most successful and influential people in the world. And do you know what one of his greatest discoveries was? That true wealth doesn't start in your pocket. It starts in your mind. Yes, that's right. Prosperity is, first and foremost, a state of mind. And only then does it manifest itself in the physical world, in your finances, in your achievements, in your results. You know that fear that creeps up every time you think about the future, when you look at your bank account and feel that lump in your throat. This is more than just a thought. This is a mental pattern, a conditioning that is keeping you stuck in scarcity. And believe me, no matter how much you pray, wish, or work, if this pattern is not broken, you will continue to live in the same cycle. And I'm not the one saying this. These are universal principles taught by Hill and confirmed by spirituality and modern neuroscience. And here's something that might surprise you. There is a formula, a powerful combination of 3 elements that, when applied correctly, unlocks any cycle of scarcity and opens the doors to prosperity. I'm talking about faith, discipline, and positive mindset. Faith connects you with the invisible, with the unlimited spiritual power that exists within you. Discipline puts you on the path of action, progress, and the step-by-step process that builds results. And a positive mindset, it's the key that transforms your thoughts into reality, that aligns your emotions with abundance. But wait, we'll talk about how to apply this formula exactly in a moment. What I want you to understand now, deeply, is that there is no prosperity without breaking the mental cycle of scarcity. And this is not motivational talk. This is a universal principle applied by thousands of people who have come out of the depths of financial, emotional, and spiritual life and built a life of freedom, peace, and success. By the way, maybe you're wondering, okay, but how do I do that? Where do I start? And that, my friend, is exactly the answer I'm going to give you from now on. So take a deep breath, because what comes next may open your mind in ways you've never imagined before. And perhaps, as you listen to me now, your mind is beginning to wonder, is this really what's holding me back? Could this fear of scarcity actually come from everything I've learned and believed so far about money, success, and worthiness? And if in some way you're feeling this way, know that it is absolutely normal. Do you know why? Because this is the first sign that your consciousness is expanding. It is when the penny starts to drop, when you realize that there is indeed another path, a path where you no longer need to live hostage to fear, doubt, or insecurity, a path where prosperity is not a miracle reserved for a few, but rather your right, a right of those who decide to free themselves. By the way, I really want to invite you now, if this topic makes sense to you, if in some way what I've said so far has touched you, awakened you, made you reflect, share it with me here in the comments. Tell me, what is the biggest fear that is stopping you from moving forward today? What weighs most on your heart when you think about money, the future, abundance, or even, tell me if you have ever noticed in your life how this pattern of scarcity has manifested itself. Seriously, your participation here is not only important, it is essential, because each comment, each like, each new subscription here on the channel is not just a number, it is a sign to the universe that this message needs to go further, that there are people just like you who are ready to change, to grow, to transform their lives through faith, discipline, and a positive mindset. So if you believe that this transformation is possible, if you feel in your heart that this can truly be the first step towards a new phase in your life, leave your like on the video. This really helps YouTube to understand that this content is relevant and to show this message to more people who, like you, are looking to escape this cycle of scarcity. And of course, subscribe to the channel right now, because I promise you, this is just the beginning. We still have a lot to talk about, to learn and to build together on this journey of transformation. Each video, each piece of content that I bring here is designed exactly to help you break down these invisible barriers, to guide you on this path of prosperity, growth, and connection with something much bigger than you can imagine. By the way, take a deep breath, because what I'm going to show you now is exactly how you can start in practice to break this cycle. And when I tell you that this can change everything, it's because I'm speaking from someone who has experienced this firsthand. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is a hidden truth that few people have the courage to face. The fear of scarcity is not just a passing thought. It is like a seed planted long ago, which has been growing, taking root in your mind, making you believe that money is hard to come by, that prosperity is for the few, and that you need to accept living in a limited way. And do you know what the problem with this is? The more you believe this story, the more it becomes confirmed in your life. Because the mind, when programmed for scarcity, begins to see only lack, only difficulty, only obstacles. And this is the most silent trap there is. It makes you look at the world through distorted lenses, where everything seems impossible, heavy, distant. And it's not me who says this, it was revealed decades ago by Napoleon Hill, when he stated that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But here's a detail that few have noticed behind the scenes of this phrase. It's not enough to just wish or just believe for a few seconds. You need to create a real alignment between thought, feeling, and above all, action. Because if your mind is stuck in fear, doubt, insecurity, there is no decree, prayer, or technique that will sustain prosperity in the long term. This explains why so many people pray, study, do everything, and remain in the same place. There is a direct impact between what you accept as truth and the results you reap in your life. And this is where many people get lost. People believe that living worried about bills, debts, and problems is normal. But they don't realize that this mental state is exactly what blocks any possibility of transformation. Because as long as you are vibrating at the frequency of fear, abundance simply cannot find you. It is as if there is an invisible wall separating you from the life you deserve to live. And the most curious thing is that this pain doesn't just appear in money, it spreads. It reflects on relationships, health, self-esteem, work, everything. Because the fear of scarcity doesn't just talk about money, it talks about lack of confidence, of worthiness, of clarity, of direction. It's as if your own mind creates a labyrinth, and the more you try to get out, the more lost you feel. But here's the big revelation. If this fear was learned, it can also be unlearned. Just as you have been conditioned to think small, you can also reprogram yourself to think big, to align yourself with prosperity, abundance, and a new reality. Because as Hill also said, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And if that's true, and I assure you it is, then the right question is no longer, can I do it? But yes, when will I start unlocking this new reality? And if all this makes sense to you, comment below. My mind creates my reality, or I am reprogramming my mind. I really want to know who is with me on this journey. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a silent, almost invisible mistake that sabotages millions of people every day. And perhaps, without even realizing it, you are also falling into this trap. It is the kind of mistake that doesn't scream, doesn't appear clearly, but saps your energy, blocks your results, and keeps you stuck in the same place without understanding why. And do you know what it is? Believing that just having faith is enough, or that working harder, striving until you are exhausted, is the only way to achieve prosperity and transformation. And let me tell you a truth that may even hurt at first, but it frees you. Faith without action is just disguised hope, and hard work without direction and without an aligned mindset is just accumulated fatigue. It doesn't generate wealth, it doesn't generate abundance, it only generates frustration. Napoleon Hill made this very clear when he said that burning desire, when combined with faith, persistence, and planned actions, turns into wealth. Do you understand? There is a formula, there is a code, and within this code, just wishing, just praying, or just working yourself to death, it doesn't work. The equation only comes together when you understand that faith needs to go hand in hand with discipline, a prosperous mindset, and conscious decisions every day. And the most curious thing is that most people, when faced with this revelation, react by trying to compensate with force. They work harder, do more, sacrifice more, believing that the more effort they put in, the closer they will be to success. But this doesn't solve anything, because the problem isn't how much you do, it's how you do it. If you perform your actions full of fear, doubt, anxiety, insecurity, guess what? You're only feeding more of this pattern, and the universe responds exactly at the same frequency. Your intentions have a much greater impact than your actions. It's as if your life is an exact reflection of the energy you put into what you do. And if this energy is polluted, disconnected from abundance, everything becomes heavy, difficult, and time-consuming. That's why Hill always said that the first victory happens in the mind. True transformation doesn't start when you get more money, when you change jobs, or when a miraculous opportunity arises. It starts when you decide in a non-negotiable way to reprogram your mindset, align your thoughts with prosperity, and act every day based on that. And maybe right now, you're feeling that realization sink in. Maybe you're realizing that it's not about running anymore. It's about running in the right direction, with the right mindset, with the right energy. Because if you don't, you'll spend years of your life trying to push a door that's actually always been locked. And the key, guess what? It's always been in your hand. If this truth touches you, if it makes sense to you, comment below. It all starts in my mind, or the key to prosperity is in my decision. I really want to know who is aware of this transformation. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a much broader and even disconcerting reason that explains why so many people live trapped in this cycle of scarcity. And no, it is not a coincidence. It is not bad luck. It is not karma. It is simply the reflection of a social programming that is repeated generation after generation. Since childhood, we have been taught to focus on the problem, to look at what is missing, to repeat phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, wealth is not for everyone, or life is really hard. We grow up being bombarded with fear, debt, worries, and news that only reinforce scarcity. The world out there turns almost all the time at a frequency that feeds insecurity, fear, and lack. And do you know what's even crazier? No one teaches you the opposite path. No one shows you how to build a prosperous mindset, how to align your faith with action and discipline, how to actually activate this internal power capable of transforming any reality. And this is not theory, no. Napoleon Hill was already talking about this almost a century ago when he revealed that you become what you think about most of the time. And look at the impact of this revelation. If you spend your entire day thinking about debts, difficulties, fears, and problems, guess what you will continue to create? Exactly more debts, more difficulties, more limitations. It is almost as if your mind were an antenna, and this antenna captures, amplifies, and transmits exactly the frequency that you choose to tune into every day. And yes, this is a choice, even if until now you have made it unconsciously. It's as if the world has handed you an invisible script that says life is hard, work hard, accept little, and be thankful for what you get. And you, without realizing it, have been following this script. But no one told you that this script can and should be torn up, that there is another script, much more powerful, waiting to be written. A script where you stop being a hostage to circumstances and become the author of your own reality. And here is a revelation that can change everything. This script begins in your mind. It begins in the way you choose to interpret what you experience, in the meaning you give to each challenge, each opportunity, each decision. Do you see how powerful this is? How liberating this is? Because if the problem is not outside, if the problem is in the thought pattern you have learned, this means that the solution is also inside, and no one can take that away from you. Your transformation does not depend on politics, economics, luck, or someone saving you. It depends on your decision, on your ability to reprogram your mind, to change your frequency, and consequently, to change your life. And if this perception is giving you an internal click right now, comment here. I'm writing my new script, or my mind creates my reality every day. I really want to know who is aware of this truth. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because this is exactly where one of the greatest revelations of this journey happens. There is a formula, a hidden code that when applied, changes absolutely everything. And no, this is not a cliche. It is not empty motivational talk. It is mental science, applied spirituality, and daily practice combined. When you understand that wealth does not start in your pocket, but rather within, everything makes sense. True prosperity is born when three elements align perfectly: faith, discipline, and a positive mindset. These are the three invisible pillars that support any real, lasting, and consistent transformation. And look, this isn't just a pretty theory. Napoleon Hill made this clear when he wrote that faith is the chemical element that, when mixed with thought, accelerates its transmutation into physical reality. In other words, it is not enough to just think positively. It is not enough to just wish, nor to live praying and hoping that things will change on their own. Faith alone is powerful, yes. But faith without discipline is just empty desire, and discipline without an aligned mindset becomes just effort, tiredness, and exhaustion. It is the union of the three that turns the game around. Faith connects you to the invisible, to the source, to that greater power that governs absolutely everything. It keeps you steadfast, even when the results have not yet appeared. It is the inner certainty, that unshakable feeling that abundance is already on the way. Discipline, on the other hand, is the engine of transformation, because there is no point in having faith on Sunday and spending the whole week repeating the same patterns that keep you in scarcity. Discipline is that daily, non-negotiable commitment to your goals, your thoughts, your actions, and your energy. It is when you decide every day to no longer negotiate with your excuses, your fears, and your limitations. And that's where the positive mindset comes in. It's not that silly, forced optimism. It's a conscious construction of thoughts that empower you, that elevate you, that align you with the frequency of abundance. It's looking at life, at challenges, at circumstances, and intentionally choosing to see opportunities where before you only saw problems. Do you see the impact of this? Do you see how this combination can't fail? Because when these three elements come together, something simply magical happens. The fear of scarcity loses all its power over you. And it's not because your bank account changed first. It's because you changed first. And when you change, everything around you inevitably starts to rearrange itself. Because life, the universe, God, call it what you will, does not respond to what you desire. It responds to who you are, what you vibrate, what you sustain energetically every day. And if this formula is starting to make sense to you now, comment here. I am faith discipline, and abundance, or my mind is my greatest wealth. I really want to know who understands the power of this transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a universal law working in your life right now, whether you believe in it or not, whether you are aware of it or not. And the craziest thing is that it never fails. It doesn't choose who it will benefit or who it will punish. It simply works, just like gravity. You may not see it, you may not touch it, but it is there, silently operating every day, in every thought, every decision, and every feeling you emit. And this law is simple. Whatever you plant in your mind, you will reap in your reality. It's that simple. And I'm not the one saying this. Napoleon Hill warned almost a century ago that thought is the most powerful force in the universe when combined with emotion and faith. And man, this is more real than you think. Think about it. If you plant fear, insecurity, doubt, anxiety, what do you think will flourish in your life? Exactly. More reasons to feel fear, more situations that make you insecure, more challenges that validate your doubts. Now, if you plant discipline, faith, courage, thoughts aligned with prosperity, what will flourish? Abundance, opportunities, solutions, growth. It's spiritual mathematics. It's the science of the mind. It's a code that few know and even fewer apply. And this is where many people get lost because they think that all they need to do is think positively for a few minutes, say a prayer when they are desperate, and that's it. They expect the universe to deliver everything packaged at their door. But the law doesn't work like that. It is much more intelligent. It observes inconstancy. It responds to your dominant frequency, not to your fleeting desires. It is about what you vibrate daily. It is about what you sustain energetically while you live, work, relate, and dream. The bottom line of this truth is that your mind is like fertile ground. It doesn't choose whether to give you roses or thorns. It simply makes what you plant grow more consistently. And do you know what's most powerful about this? You have 100% control over this planting. It's a huge responsibility. I know. But it's also your greatest freedom, because if you've created, even without knowing it, a life full of limitations, you can also consciously create a life full of abundance, expansion, and fulfillment. And maybe at this very moment, you are realizing how much this already makes sense in your own story. Maybe you are looking back and understanding why certain cycles repeat themselves, why some results never change. And this is liberating, because it means that the key has always been in your hands. If this key is already turning inside your consciousness, comment here. I am responsible for my reality, or my mind plants, my life reaps. I want to see who is really aware of this power. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because everything I'm telling you here doesn't come from books alone, nor from loose theory. It comes from real life experience, from someone who has been exactly where you might be today. I know firsthand what it's like to wake up every day with that suffocating feeling that life isn't moving forward. What it's like to look at your bank account and feel that butterflies in your stomach, that gnawing anxiety, that silent fear that says, what if nothing changes? What if I never get out of this cycle? I know exactly how heavy it is to carry this constant doubt, this insecurity that seems to have no end. And I tell you this not with shame, but with full awareness, because it was precisely there, at the bottom of the emotional, financial, and spiritual well, that I found the key to transformation. And you know what's even crazier? When you're in this place, it seems like everything gets heavier. Opportunities disappear, doors close, energy stagnate. And it's not just about money, no. It's about life as a whole. Your self-esteem plummets, your motivation disappears, and you start, without realizing it, to accept that script that they taught you. Life is like that. Some succeed, others don't. But in that moment of complete internal collapse, one thing became very clear to me. If my mind had the power to create that chaos, it also had the power to create a new reality. That's when everything started to change. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't magic. It was a decision. It was discipline. It was a deep understanding that if I didn't change my inner self, nothing on the outside would change. I began to study obsessively about mentality, universal laws, prosperity, and transformation. And of course, I delved deeply into Napoleon Hill's teachings. And you know what? One of the quotes that really changed my life was when he said, "Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit." Man, that blew my mind, because I realized that even that absurd pain I was feeling, that fear, that anxiety, all of that could be raw material to create something much bigger. It was at that point that I understood that the formula was not optional, it was mandatory. Faith, discipline, and a positive mindset. I began day after day to rewrite my story. It was not easy, but it was possible. And the results? They began to appear in ways I never imagined. The money began to arrive. Opportunities arose. My energy changed. My worldview transformed. And most importantly, that fear of scarcity simply lost its strength. Not because the world changed, but because I changed. And maybe, as you listen to me now, that penny is also sinking in. Maybe you're starting to realize that what brought you here doesn't define where you can go. So answer me in the comments. I choose to rewrite my story, or my transformation begins within me. I really want to know who is feeling this internal click happening. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because it makes no sense for us to talk about transformation, mindset, and prosperity if everything remains only in the field of information. True change begins when you decide to get out of automatic mode and start putting it into practice. And here I want to propose a challenge to you. A simple but extremely powerful challenge, capable of starting to break this cycle of scarcity that has haunted you for so long. Because as Napoleon Hill said, ideas have no value until they are put into action. And honestly, this is one of the greatest hidden truths of human development. Most people understand it, they consume content, they get inspired, but that's all it takes. And it's precisely this lack of action that keeps them stuck in the same patterns, the same beliefs, the same results. So pay close attention. I want you to grab a pen and paper right now if you can, or even the notepad on your phone, and write down, honestly and without filters, 3 beliefs that are limiting you today. 3 sentences, 3 thoughts, 3 ideas that you notice are holding you back. It could be something like, money is hard, I'm not good enough, I will never get out of debt, or any other thing that deep down you know you have been feeding without realizing it. This is the first step, bringing to consciousness what, until now, was running on autopilot. Now, look how powerful. For each of these beliefs, you are going to write a new affirmation, a sentence that completely nullifies this limiting pattern and immediately begins to plant a new seed in your mind. So if before you said, money is hard, now you write, money comes to me easily, cleanly, fairly, and abundantly. It used to be, I'm not good enough. Now turn, I am fully capable and deserving of a prosperous life. Do you understand the impact of this? Because when you start telling your mind what you really want to experience, something changes. And it's not just nice talk. It's neuroscience, it's quantum physics, it's applied spirituality, and most importantly, you won't just do this today. This exercise needs to be repeated for at least 7 days, every day, in the morning, at night, or both. What matters is that you create this new neural circuit, this new mental pathway, until it starts to become natural, automatic, dominant. Because, as Hill also said, thought, when mixed with feeling, becomes magnetic. And when you hold that new vibration, the universe has no choice. It responds. If this made sense to you, write here in the comments, I am reprogramming my mind for abundance, or my new reality starts now. I really want to know who is taking this decision with force. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is a trap so subtle, so silent, that it traps millions of people without them even realizing it. And perhaps if you are honest with yourself, you will recognize that you have fallen into it too. It is that trap disguised as spirituality, as hope, as empty optimism. You know that thought of, I have faith, I will pray, I will visualize, I will wait for things to change. So, This, in isolation, is a trap. And this is where most people get stuck. They get stuck in this cycle where they believe that just wishing, just asking, just waiting is enough for life to change, but it's not. And I'm not the one saying this. Napoleon Hill himself was categorical when he said that faith without action is useless. It must be accompanied by a burning desire and disciplined execution. And when you understand the weight of that phrase, something inside you simply doesn't go back to the way it was before. Because what many people call faith is actually procrastination in disguise. It's that cycle where you convince yourself that you're waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the perfect opportunity, when in fact you're just postponing what you already know needs to be done. And do you know what the hidden truth behind this is? That this cycle of waiting, postponing and postponing is not about a lack of opportunity. It's about fear. Fear of failure, fear of getting it wrong, fear of getting frustrated. And as long as this fear rules, you can say all the prayers in the world, you can light all the candles, you can repeat all the affirmations, and nothing will get done. Because faith needs an inseparable partner, action. And here I'm not talking about just any action. It's not about doing everything in any way, running around desperately, trying to fix the world out there. It's an intelligent, aligned, intentional action, anchored in the discipline and clarity of someone who understands that transformation starts from the inside out. It's when you stop negotiating with your excuses, when you take on, once and for all, the role of creator of your reality. And from that place, you start to act not out of desperation, but out of alignment. Because when your mind, your faith, and your discipline are working together, there are no limits. Procrastination completely loses its power. And that fear that used to paralyze you simply dissolves, because now you're guiding your life with another type of energy, with another type of consciousness. Do you realize the impact of this? Because deep down, it's not about waiting for the right time. It's about deciding that the right time is now. As Hill always said, fear is just a mental condition, and a mental condition can be controlled and directed. And when you understand this, there is no more room to hide behind excuses. If this is sinking in, write it in the comments. Aligned action is my new discipline, or I choose to act despite fear. I really want to know who is breaking this cycle now. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because if there is one thing you need to understand definitively, it is that this journey of transformation cannot, under any circumstances, be treated as something temporary, as a phase, as some experiment. This is a path of no return. And I tell you this, not only because I experience this transformation, but because every day I see thousands of people who have decided to break once and for all with the cycle of scarcity, fear, and mental and emotional limitations that they have carried for years. There is an invisible line that separates those who simply want to change from those who decide, from those who take action, from those who make discipline, faith, and a positive mindset a daily practice, a lifestyle, a non-negotiable commitment to their own evolution. And if you're listening to me this far, I know it's not by chance. I know that somehow you feel that this message is resonating inside you, as if each word were turning on a light, a clear sign that yes, you are ready. Ready to stop negotiating with your own greatness. Ready to take responsibility for creating a new reality where prosperity, abundance, freedom, and fulfillment stop being distant dreams and become your new frequency, your new normal. Napoleon Hill always said that the starting point of any achievement is desire, and this is exactly where it all begins. Real desire. Burning desire, non-negotiable desire, the one that makes you get up every day, look in the mirror, and say to yourself, I refuse to accept a life less than the one I deserve to live. And from that desire, you align your mind, your spirit, and your action in a way so powerful, so magnetic, that life simply has no other option but to respond. But make no mistake, this is not a journey where you will just consume content, watch videos, hear beautiful words, and hope that everything will magically change. This is about practice, about repetition, about discipline, about consciously choosing every day which version of you will control your life? The one that lives in fear, doubt, and scarcity? Or the one that understands that true wealth begins in the mind, expands in faith, and is realized in daily and consistent action? And if you've made it this far, first of all, thank you, really. This shows me that you're not just anyone. You're someone who chose to delve deeper, understand, and transform yourself. And look, if this content made sense to you, if it brought you clarity, if it had some kind of impact on you, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, because this is exactly the kind of conversation, this kind of journey that we live here, always with reflections, practices, and tools to help you build every day this mindset aligned with abundance, prosperity, and a life that's much greater than you were led to believe was possible. By the way, if you're with me until now, leave a sentence in the comments so I know who stayed until the end. It could be like this: I'm on this journey until the end, or this transformation is for me. I would love to know who are the committed minds who are actually choosing this path. And of course, leave a like here, because this is not just a button. This is a sign, a confirmation that this content made sense to you, and yes, it really helps this message to continue reaching those who also need to hear it. Now, if you want to continue this journey with me, there is a video here that will complement exactly what we talked about today. Click on it, and let's continue together on this journey of expansion, transformation, and prosperity. I'll see you there.